Welcome to another One Piece chapter review. Today's review will be on chapter 1090, and it's a continuation of the Egghead arc. And we kind of see Kizaru making his move a little bit more towards the end of this chapter. So let's move on to what happened this chapter. So the chapter starts off with Saturn. Luffy starts off the chapter by talking to the five elders, and he was kind of giving away the Straw Hat's current status quo, like injuries and whatnot. And then Nico Robin made Luffy like shut the call, and then Saturn goes to tell one of the vice admirals in his office, or the in the ship, in the room where he's at in the ship that he's in. He tells one of the vice admirals reporting to him that he only cares about three things that must be preserved in this brawl that's about to happen. So he cares about York's safety, which is kind of disposable. Maybe like it's not like maybe they might dispose of her, but as of right now, Saturn cares about York's safety. Maybe because that's the only Vegapunk they want to keep alive and use her mind for their future, like the military's future. So they want to keep York alive and maybe eradicate all the other Vegapunks. The second thing is they want Vegapunk's brain, I think. That's like the big brain that's in the island. I don't know exactly know how to describe it, but Vegapunk's brain is a part of the island, so they probably want that. I think it's called Punk Brain or something. And then they also want the power plant that makes the Mother Flame. So as of right now, we don't really know what the Mother Flame is, but maybe it powers up ancient weapons or something. That's what I'm guessing, but like I could be totally wrong. But it's something that the world government wants. So that's what Saturn's interested in preserving. Everything else is disposable. After that, we get kind of a little bit of what's going on with the Straw Hats. So some of them are a little bit injured, especially Kaku, the CP0 agent. He said two seraphims, and he's like really injured. Everyone else is kind of just like kind of injured and just eating, especially Bonnie and Luffy. And they also gave some food. Straw Hats group so gave some food to the other Cyberpol agents, like from Cyberpol 7, 6, 8, 9, or whatnot. They gave them some food where they're locked up. They also locked up the Seraphims in there. They managed to lock them in this like sea stone bubbles, which I'm pretty sure will come into play later in the One Piece verse, because you can pretty much. Um, I think this is a new invention to the sea stone prison. I mean, sea stone prisons and sea stone handcuffs. So you can pretty much lock anyone with devil fruit powers here. Um, yeah, so Luffy's group is kind of just eating and like recuperating a little bit, and CP0 is also with them. And the Seraphim and the other Cyberpol lower divisions are just like eating, and they're locked up in that place where they're locked up in like the underground places in Vegapunk's lab or island. And two Vegapunks died. I don't exactly know which ones, but like in this chapter, at least the translation I read, they said two of the Vegapunks passed away. So right now there's probably like four left, I think, or four or five, or like basically two of them died, but there's still like three or four left. Um, yeah, and then what happens now after they kind of recuperate and everything for a little bit, Vegapunk explains the plan to the Straw Hats. So he says that I forget what this robot's name is. Vega Force. So the Vega Force, Vegapunk's like robot that he made, um, that can actually this robot thing Vega Force can fly. So Vegapunk's plan is to fly out with the Sunny, Thousand Sunny, and fly out of the island, but the robot stops flying when it's out of Egghead Island's atmosphere. So at that point, the robot would fall down along with Thousand Sunny. But then Frankie said he would do coup de burst and get like 1 kilometer away from Egghead Island, so the rest of the marine ships can't catch up with them. So that's their plan. First, Vega Force is gonna fly out for a little bit and then coup de burst for 1 more kilometer to try and escape from Egghead Island from the Marines in Egghead Island. But before that, they have to like take out the barrier. But York, basically, all the Vegapunks have to uh, kind of authenticate to take off the barrier. But York is a bit traitor, so she's not cooperating. So the other Vegapunks are kind of like trying to go through the code and try to manually disable the barrier, while Luffy and his team, or at least some of them, went to Vega Force One and Thousand Sunny to get them ready for the takeoff once the barrier is off. So that's their plan. That's what they're gearing up towards as soon as the barrier is lifted. And then towards like the latter half of the chapter, we see Rob Lucci, or we see Kizaru and Saturn talk about what's happening inside Egghead Island, and they know what's happening because Rob Lucci is giving them status reports. So I think in one of my previous videos, I said that Rob Lucci could their CP0 could be one of those wild cards who that determines what happens in this chapter. But it kind of looks like maybe CP0 is still on the Marine side at least. Maybe they might switch up, but as of this chapter, especially their leader Rob Lucci is still giving reports to Saturn and Kizaru, and then what happens was so Saturn and Kizaru talk about Kizaru being having the light fruit, so he can bypass the barrier. Um, and then I think Saturn told him to go straight up to Luffy and his team and take them on, but Kizaru said, "I'm gonna make a pit stop, or like I'm gonna give my friend, I'm gonna at least show up in front of my friend Sentomaru because he's doing like a stand, a brave last ditch stand." And he also told um, Kizaru also told Saturn that the casualties will be high in this because Sentomaru will unleash pacifistas, at least 50 of them, and sea beast weapons at the navy. But yeah, obviously Saturn doesn't care. He thinks lives are disposable, other than the three things he wants: the Mother Flame, York's safety, and Vegapunk's brain. Um, yeah, so the chapter then progresses to Kizaru and going through the barrier and meeting, like starting a fight with Sentomaru. I don't think he's gonna have that much trouble with Sentomaru in like maybe like 10 chapters ago. Sentomaru basically got like one shotted by Rob Lucci, and obviously Kizaru is stronger than Rob Lucci. They're friends, so he might probably just make him go unconscious quickly and then probably go on to confront Luffy's group. But at least now we see Kizaru enter the island and start to make his move. And that's how the chapter ends. Luffy kind of has like a scared look on his face and says like someone strong has entered the island. Someone strong being Kizaru. And that's how the chapter ends. But yeah, that's how the chapter ends, and I would give this chapter a 7 out of 10. Just because I felt like it was still kind of like a build-up chapter until toward the very end of the chapter, and we kind of had like one or two build-up chapters already. So I kind of just want the action to start and the fighting to start. It may not be like full-blown fights to the death because I believe this is a transition arc. But yeah, at least I want to see some action. That's why it's a 7 out of 10. No, but it was still good content, obviously. I just thought like we can like finish the setup stuff and then move on to like the fights by now in Egghead, or at least setting up the fights. But there were some funny moments here that I wanted to mention. So Boa Hancock's Seraphim, she loves Luffy too because she's Boa Hancock's clone. So she undid the stone statues of whoever she made into stone statues, and that was like really cute and funny to see because Luffy's thanking Hancock like thank you for taking them off, and she's like, oh, did he just say he wants to marry me? So it was cute to see that dynamic uh, amongst Luffy and Hancock's clone. And then they were also talking about Elbaf, going to Elbaf soon, um, after escaping from Egghead. So that's probably the next main arc, and Egghead is probably the transition arc to Elbaf, much like how Zoe was the transition arc to Wano, and Punk Hazard was the transition arc to Dressrosa. This is probably Egghead is probably the transition arc to Elbaf. Um, and then what else was there? Hmm. So that'll be all actually, and then I look forward to seeing like what Kizaru does soon, and how this arc sets up, and what kind of like cool like fights, even if it's not to the death, or like not to like until someone's totally defeated. Because like I said, I think it's a transition arc, but I look forward to seeing what kind of like mini fights happen, or like semi mini fights, or kind of full blown fights, and then how this arc plays out in its climax and closing moments, and then we can move on to Elbuff in style. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and see you guys again in a couple of weeks, because next week there's no chapter. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys again soon.